Yes, and we're back for another boring episode for you guys.
Wait.
Yes, this is Bacon at Apex. I even forgot the name of the show. It's been that long. Of course, I'm with the two guys, the guys that really don't know nothing about Formula One, very incompetent in terms of Formula One. The other one cannot make his choice in terms of which team he really supports. It's either Red Bull, either McLaren, and the other one is addicted to nicotine, and he's a hopeless Sergeant fan. I don't know why he does that to himself, but yeah. And the last one was actually being introduced and who's been hosting, will be hosting this show today, is BT, the smart guy, the Ferrari fan, the literally the god of Formula One in terms of Formula One history. That's me, of course. How you guys doing?
Good, thanks and self. So,
I'm good. I am very good. I am good. Thank you so much for that very, very lackluster introduction. It was extremely exciting. Hashtag sarcasm. But thank you so much for that great introduction. I will say, BT, it has been some time, and I have also forgotten how to actually talk. So you guys might have to just bear with me. But let's just get straight into the episode because we've got some things to talk about. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
There's a
like
lot of things happening.
you 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 you're already by just saying the same thing over and over again. But yeah, let's get to it. Um, you know, race weekend, we're excited, and we just chose to do a recap of the season so far. In my opinion, this probably has been the best season in a long time. Um, and it's been exciting. I could say 80% of the races so far have been good. Very few races have been really boring or how can I say, um, the typical Formula One races we do get other seasons. So my question for you guys is that what, how are you looking back in terms of this season? When I say that is that are you surprised that McLaren is where they are at the moment? Are you shocked where Red Bull is at the moment? And are you relieved where Ferrari and Mercedes is at the moment? Dirk, go ahead.
well, considering that we've only got 6 races to go, this episode is slightly late, but still rather late than never. Honestly, I can remember I said at the end of last season that McLaren definitely and I should be kept on them because there was so much potential in the 2023 car, and because basically nothing changed for 2024, I I was honestly more hopeful than actually thinking it was going to happen. But McLaren honestly surprised me when all of a sudden that car just started showing up from Miami forwards. And when it comes to the Ferrari and Mercedes state of things, Ferrari has taken a while to get to where they need to be, but they are there. I think it's a little bit too late, but still it makes the racing at the front interesting. And Mercedes, it's still just a thing of how have they had 3 seasons and still haven't figured out this concept. One weekend the car is running at the front, the next weekend it's a second a lap slower than the top three teams. And then Red Bull, I never thought in my life since because I really started to get into F1 just before Red Bull peaked with Sebastian Vettel. And when Red Bull came into the sport, they got fast so quickly. And I never thought in my lifetime I would see a season where Red Bull, of all teams, would start as the fastest car by a mile. And then, not even halfway into the season, they've got 3 other cars either as fast or already faster than them that were not close to them just about 6, 7 races ago. So honestly, this season, if I had to label it for me, it's just I am surprised, but I am so excited for what is still to come in these last 6 races. And then especially for next season, with again the regulations having no changes whatsoever. And we're going to have the same concepts, the same cars. And to be honest, the only thing that I would add for 2024 is that Mercedes are in this fight, but it's a fight like this from Australia till Abu Dhabi, so that we can really see who's got the, I want to say, the cojones for a whole season. But as far as that, I have just enjoyed this season. It feels like 2021 again. It's just been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
Cool.
gents,
Graham?
I'm ready for next year. To be honest, this year can end. I'd be quite happy with that. I mean, look, it's been a great year. I'm not saying it hasn't been, but it's also been one of those years where the outcomes of the races have made it interesting in terms of the titles, the championships and the constructors titles. But in terms of the racing, there's still been a lot of boring races in that sense. There's been a lot of interesting races, and for me, who's somebody who really enjoys the strategic side of things, I've been intrigued in most of the races, even when there's not a lot of actual heat battling going on. But for the most part, there's still been a lot of races where you kind of sat there like, meh, was that really a good race? You know? So for me, I'm more excited about next year. Because if you consider next year, you think last year of the regulations, cars will get even closer. Then you consider the teams, Piastri, Norris, Lewis, Charles, Max. Max. Well, look, there are rumors
Okay.
about. I mean, Horner was suggesting something the other day that Liam might even be put next to Max. So, I mean, that would be quite exciting if you consider that as well. So, and then you got George and Antonelli as well. Which, look, we don't know the kid. We know George. We know George is good, even though we don't want to admit it. He is. But Antonelli, we don't know, but he could also be the next Max who just gets into a good car and just fires. So I'm ready for next year, man. I think next year is going to be more exciting. I think the racing will be a little bit better because the cars will probably be a bit more closer. And also, if you think about it, you know, typical F1, as soon as a team starts doing well, they get chopped at the wings. McLaren are getting picked apart now. First the front wing, the back wing, the flexible wing, now the front wing, and so they might get pegged back a little bit again, which means Red Bull will probably be on par with them again, and that could be quite interesting. So I'm ready for next year. To be honest, I'm ready for next year. But for the remainder of this year, I am excited. I'm excited to get back into some racing. We've got some really good tracks coming up. COTA for one, I'm super excited for. I love that track. I love racing on that track. I love watching racing on that track. It's just an epic track to have, guys. I have to add this. I am wearing their top. McLaren have not won a championship since 1998. Right now, they're looking like pretty hot favorites. That in itself is a story to tell. So, look, whether the racing is going to be good or not for the next couple of races, I can't tell. But what I can say is McLaren are in a position now to really make history. To win a title since 1998 with two extremely young drivers. It's not like they don't even have a world champion in their car. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
So I'm excited for it, gents. I'm excited for what's to come. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, on my side, just a quick one. Red Bull, I'm not surprised where they are at the moment because we did speak about them, about optimizing that car. It will be a struggle throughout the season, so I'm not really surprised about that. Mercedes, from where they were last year to now, made a difference, but not there yet. Ferrari, they've kept it consistent, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. They won a few races. That's a good thing as well. They are maybe going to reach that second position in the constructors, which is good. And what Dirk says that they left it for too late, which is Dirk was on point with that. So for the recap on all the past races, they've made mistakes as well, multiple mistakes throughout the season. And yeah, that's just my input of the recap of the season so far.
I think,
It's been a good one. I've
sorry,
enjoyed it.
I think Red
Yeah,
Bull have
go ahead.
fallen into the Aston Martin trap of building a car they have no idea how to work on. And I think it's got to
Yeah,
be something in the lines of, they had Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey stopped sort of like giving his input, and who's ever in his position sort of on race days or doesn't really understand, the whole Adrian Newey notebook vibe. Like Adrian Newey's got his notebook out, he's looking at other cars, he's taking notes, he's constantly looking at how to improve. And who's ever's in his place now is not getting that memo. So I think they've got that car in a good place, like Aston Martin had last year, but they just don't know what to do with it. Obviously, we were saying that they hit that ceiling. They probably did hit that ceiling, but if you consider that other cars have been able to go faster, there was obviously something they could still do. It's not like that car was
Mm.
untouchable. So they've obviously just gotten to a point where they not really sure how to move forward with the chassis, or their ground effects was what made them so good, but they've not really been able to find a way to improve on that. So look, obviously FIA is also um, got a hand to play in a lot of the changes that I've had, as they did with Ferrari 2022. But at the end of the day, man, look, it's F1, and it makes
Mm.
it fun. Quite frankly, as
cool.
much as I love Red Bull, I'm quite happy this has happened, because it's given us something to talk about, it's given us something to enjoy, and it's given us a fight, even if it's not for a champ. Well, I mean, it has given us a driver's title fight as well, technically. But I mean, yeah, we'll see how that one turns out.
Yeah, honestly,
Cool.
for me, I just quickly want to add to this. I see Red Bull in more of a perspective of Mercedes than Aston Martin. I get where you're coming from, Graham, but Red Bull, the only difference between the two is Mercedes had a concept from the start that they just had no idea how to make it go fast. Red Bull had I almost want to say the breakfast phase when these regulations came in, they nailed it. But as the concept kept evolving and getting faster, it's as if they got further away from optimizing it. And they are basically doing the complete opposite to Mercedes.
Mm.
Mercedes started bad and now finally slowly but surely starting to figure it out. Red Bull had it, and now all of a sudden it's getting worse and worse. What I am intrigued though about for this upcoming weekend is the fact that Red Bull actually are putting their final upgrades for the season on their car this weekend. And they said that
Yeah,
if that is figured out at in the American Grand Prix, that they have a very good chance to actually gain those tenths that they've lost to McLaren and Ferrari.
Yeah.
Will it happen? Do not know. I do hope so that Max and Lando can be closer on track. But for anything can happen. Ferrari had a mid-season upgrade that they said is going to put them at the front of the grid, but it took them 5 races to figure out. And if that happens to Red Bull in 5 races, we're heading to the season
Mm.
finale, and then it might be too late for Max. So I'm honestly just my level of intrigue for these final 6 races, I think, is why I'm not yet on your level of bring on 2025. I just want to see all these different aspects of Ferrari and Mercedes playing these joker card roles, like in a pack of cards. They're the jokers. They're always there just to ruffle the feathers. And then you've got McLaren and Red Bull, who are just fighting with everything inside of them. And I just think it's going to be incredible.
Well, you've got to think as well
cool.
that Red Bull, if Red Bull pulls something out of the bag, if Max wins this, look, he's still got a 56 point gap. But I mean, you got to say that this has got to be then one of the better wins that you've ever witnessed in your life, if they're able to pull it back. Because quite frankly,
Oh no,
you
absolutely.
can't say they've had a dominant car. You can't say they had the best car. They've
Mm.
they've been on crutches for the last couple races. But
Yeah,
anyways,
but look, we going Rebel way now. Let's not talk about them. It's not worthy enough.
excuse me.
Only
Wait,
thing
hey, whoa,
I'm
hang on.
going.
Don't be
What?
saying they're not worthy. Hang on. That's my team. That
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's your I don't know who's your wife and your side chick. Is
In
Red
some
Bull your
in
side
some
chick?
religions, you're allowed
Is,
more than one wife, bro. I'm just saying.
okay, cool. Okay, I didn't know you were king.
So you are
I didn't know you were African
problems.
king.
Good
I
luck
didn't know
to you, good sir.
that. But yeah, look, the way to end this is that if Verstappen pulls this in terms of the drivers and constructors, this will probably be the best win he has ever had in his entire career. And if Norris pulls this win, both drivers and constructors, this will probably go down in history as the one of the best seasons. And I think if Norris also wins this championship and never wins another one, you will be up there in terms of all-time greats. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion. But it's not for debate now. Not for debate now. We're moving on. So we will talk about it some other day.
Okay. I just want to give 2 cents. The
Wait.
only reason I see this as no, just give me literally a few sentences. The thing for me is if Red Bull pull this out of the bag, in a McLaren perspective, it's going to be seen as the season that McLaren threw away. And if McLaren win this, it's going to be the season where McLaren came from nowhere and were the underdogs and actually pulled it off. So literally how this turns out is going to be a reflection of what McLaren has been able to do.
Yes, of course. I say the same thing but in different words, but yeah, basically. So before we move to this weekend, just one more question that might just irritate Graham or hopefully.
What's going on?
Let's talk about Norris. Let's talk about Norris here. Let's talk about Norris. Gents, please rate Norris so far in the season. And the second part of this question is: has Norris has Norris made sure he's the number one driver in this team?
I'm waiting
for the near future or for further on.
I'm waiting for the part that's supposed to irritate me. I'm not sure.
No, I just said that on purpose because I knew you will say something like that.
Oh, got you.
The smart one.
Well, I'm glad you admitted on the smart one because in the beginning you said you. Anyways, let's just move on. Cool. Okay. So here's my thing.
You want fighting? Leave it. You want fighting? Leave it. So yeah. So that's the question, basically.
Cool. So here's the thing. So for me, what is my rate? What?
No. Rate, yes. Rate first, then answer if he is the number one, and he has proved that he's the number one going forward.
Rating, I would say. What are we going to do this out of 10?
You can do any way you want to, bro. Yeah. There's no threshold or anything like that.
It's tough. It's really tough because you can't look at Lando and say, hey, this guy is the main guy. First of all, you can't do that. Piastri is definitely showing his worth. He's showing his class. And you got to think that Piastri's got a lot more room to grow because he doesn't know the car as well as Lando knows the car. Yet he's already doing extremely well in it. But with that being said, Lando statistically is still crushing him statistically. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. A lot of people are talking down on Lando, but I think they're missing the point. Like Lando is still statistically smashing Oscar at the moment, right? Do I think he'll be the number one driver? No, I don't. I don't think that they will worry about number one drivers. I think they will just let them race. And I think that they will favor whoever is in front. I think that's what they even have discussed recently. In terms of Norris, to rate him, it's super difficult. I'm going to go with let's say 7 out of 10. I think he's had an amazing year. And I think he is having an amazing year. And even if he wins this championship, yes, I think he will gain a lot of respect in the world. And so he should. But if you consider he could potentially be a lot closer in the points right now had it not been for a couple errors on his part. But I will also admit that from the team's part, they've also had errors that have caused a bit of loss in points on his side. It's kind of like the Charles Leclerc thing. You know, we always spoke about Charles Leclerc and how he needs to you know, he needs to sort himself out. He needs to get out of that hole. He needs to stop being such a nice guy. And it's kind of the same aspect, whereas Lando's in that sort of same place. He's sort of like, he's a nice guy. He does the nice things. He talks nicely. He's polite. But you need that grit. I read an article today saying that he underestimated Max's aggression this year, which he did. That was him that admitted that. So yeah, I think 7 out of 10 is fair, and I don't think he'll be the number one driver. I think it will go down to who's ever winning.
So, from my perspective, honestly, when it comes to a rating, I'm actually going to rate Norris a bit higher than you, Graham. I'm going to give Norris an 8 out of 10. But reason being is, Lando has made a few mistakes this season, but the majority of the mistakes have been the team that hasn't handled the in-race moments correctly. Like you said, prioritizing, one of the examples, prioritizing Oscar when they should have prioritized Norris, or just sometimes they messed up a strategy slightly, whatever the case may be. I feel the team is more to blame for the points gap than Lando himself. And Lando, I mean, I'm someone that's very hard on Lando Norris. I will admit that. But this is a season where Lando has honestly opened my eyes more to just how damn good he is. I still am of the opinion that he is not on an overall Max, Lewis, Charles level, but he did surprise me. I honestly have gained a lot more respect and a lot more admiration for him, especially in the tough situations that the team have placed both their drivers in and how Lando has handled those situations. So for me, it's an 8 out of 10. But when it comes to 2024, I think he will be the first driver for the season. I think they figured it out too late, but McLaren are going to prioritize him for these last 6 rounds. But when it comes to 2025, I think they've learned their lesson this year that they need to realize that they need to prioritize a certain driver earlier. And I think if Lando is in the lead, is ahead of Oscar points-wise next season, he will be prioritized. But he won't be classified as a first driver until he consistently beats Piastri like he has this season. I don't think he's going to be able to do that to Piastri next year, because next year is that year where Piastri is officially no longer a rookie. It's his 3rd season, and he will be properly embedded into the team, and a lot of the car's development will be from his side as well. So I think it's not going to be a case of first, second driver. It's going to be about who's the fastest in the first half, and the second half you will be prioritized as if you are a first driver, even though you're not.
Cool. Yeah, both of you guys made good points there. I mean, I'm gonna add my 2 cents. Norris so far, a 5 out of 10, and hear me out. Not to say he's not performing very well. As Graham said, he's a nice guy. That's why I'm giving him the 5 out of 10. He needs to work on his aura. When I say in terms of aura, he needs to let Piastri know, not verbally, but the way he acts and the team, that I'm the number one guy here. And when McLaren did mess up his races, he was so calm. Oh, it's okay. No, you should. When they interview, you should look upset. Lewis Hamilton does it. Verstappen does it. Alonso does it. So if you want to be part of that elite group, you need to show your emotions even in a press conference. That's when the team will see that you mean business and you want to be the number one driver. So that's why I'm giving him a 5 out of 10, not based on his performance, based on his Formula One driver order. And we all know order, Formula One world, is the most important thing. Senna had aura. Schumacher had aura.
Max has aura.
It comes with the package. So that's why I'm giving him that score, basically.
Look, I'll say this. I definitely think 5 is too low, but I think the points you've made are 100% correct. I would say for me, I think 5 is a bit just too low, just based on the fact that he is in a title fight and he is still pulling out. He's one of the fastest guys on the track, without a doubt. He's one of the...
Yeah, Graham, but I did say, performance-wise, he's up there. I'm
Yeah.
basing the score in terms of the
Yeah,
aura.
100%. No, but that's what I'm saying. I think for me, like, I agree with your points. I agree with your points. I think your points are 100% correct. I don't think anybody can argue with you on that. But in terms of giving him an overall rating, I can't see his aura being something that should make him. But if you rating him solely on that, then you're not really rating him on his performance. Actually, you're rating him just on that, which is a slightly different thing that we're talking about then. Because I mean, I'm rating him on his performances this year, and my thing with him is that I think he's a great driver. I think he will always be a great driver, and I think he'll always be in a good team as long as he's performing. My only thing is, will he be what Oscar will be? And I don't think he will be. I think Oscar will be much more. That's what I think. I agree with what Dirk says as well, and where your aura part comes in, he's not a Max, he's not a Lewis, he's not an Alonso, he's not a Schumacher, and I don't think he ever will be. I think Piastri, the funny thing about him, he's also such a nice guy, and he's not exactly the most sort of like, he's not a
Open.
yeah, I don't know how to explain. Like, he doesn't have that dickhead in him, but he is quite straightforward, and he just cuts to the chase. But a lot of the times he does it, you just chuckle, haha, that was funny. But yet you still have this idea of him that he can be like a Max or a Lando or a Lewis. It's very weird. It's very weird how he seems like this nice guy, but he also seems like he could be that racer that can just be dominant. So it's a very weird thing, but I do I think Lando's great? I do. Do I think he'll be as great as what Oscar can potentially be? Probably not. I don't think so. But that's also a debate that we can't really have. It's a redundant one because at the same time, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future with these guys. So we'll have to see.
Honestly, Graham, like also something that I just want to add also. I also honestly think Lando is great. Like I said, he's really impressed me this season, and there's so many things that he's done that has honestly surprised me. And the one thing for me about Oscar Piastri that really shined through about, I almost want to say, with the word we are actually looking for is ruthlessness in a certain aspect, like a Max who is willing to push you a little bit wider than he should, or a Lewis that's going to keep his car on the inside even though he shouldn't really be there, but he's fighting. The thing for me with Piastri is one thing that has given me that indication. It's not a full blown conclusion yet, but a very big indication is Oscar's aggression on first lap, like first lap racing. When those 5 red lights go out, there hasn't been a driver this season that has been more aggressive on the first lap, fair but aggressive, than Oscar Piastri. I mean, just look at the move that he pulled on his own teammate at Monza. And any other race that you go look at, Oscar is, in one of Oscar's stats, he's one of the only drivers on the grid to have the least amount of position losses on the first lap. I think he's second or third. If he loses 1, maybe 2. He never loses more. Otherwise, he gains. So that for me is an indication for this whole aura that we're talking about that Lando might not have that Oscar does, even though he doesn't actually show it to the camera. He's always this calm, collected guy, but on track is where he does the speaking. And that for me is something that really gave me a good indication of who Oscar Piastri is this season.
Yeah, completely. No, I agree. And ruthlessness was the correct word. That was the one that I was looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I mean, I hope Norris watches this podcast.
He will. Don't worry. He will.
What the complete Norris, just go watch Formula One TV and watch all the greats doing their thing, and just take some pointers from there.
No, you got to think these guys are definitely watching, because if you think about it, Charles, we had choice words for Charles, and now look at him. So he was obviously listening, because the guy's having. Can we just talk about Charles for a second? My honest opinion, I think this is his best season ever in Formula One, and I know that he's in terms of his points, like it's not like he's having a title fight or whatever, but this year alone, let's think about it. After the first 5 races, we thought Sainz was going to give him a run. He's demolished Sainz. That question about okay, fine, Science is leaving. Okay, maybe you can argue Science is leaving. Maybe he isn't that invested, but that's not the point. The point is he's demolished Charles. He's maybe not in a title fight, but he has been the most consistent I've ever seen him. He's not been making mistakes. He's been picking up points under the radar. He's been scoring good positions. Personally, this is a Charles that I'm very excited to see next year go up against Lewis, and I can't wait. I really think it's one of his best seasons in Formula One. Genuine.
Anyway, let's move on. We're going to talk about this weekend. Obviously, first race in America. What I want to know is, who do you think is going to shine? We know McLaren might
Daniel
be
Ricciardo is going to shine. From the stands.
But my main thing is, I want to ask you guys, where do you think Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes will be in the McLaren?
I'm gonna be hopeful.
Right.
I'm gonna be hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that I think their upgrades work, and we're gonna have a solid fight on our hands. I'm gonna be hopeful on that. And then I'm gonna say, in terms of who shines, I think Lawson is gonna come in and he's gonna score points or something, and everyone's gonna be like, "What the flips just happened?" And I think that's gonna be the proof that they're making the right move. I also think that I would not be surprised if Ferrari pull it out the bag again this weekend, because they've got one of those cars that just come alive sometimes, and I think COTA is one of the tracks where it might, if I'm honest. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, on my side, honestly, look, excluding McLaren, we know they're going to be at the front. I am less convinced that Red Bull's upgrades will work. Honestly, I hope they do, to get them more back into this whole front four car battle. Because currently it's just Max. I also, even though we give him a lot of flack, I want to see Checo in there battling with those guys, because it was amazing to see what Checo could do at Baku. And I want to see that Checo again, because I mean, he himself said he's close to retirement. But for me personally, when it comes to Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes, the person who I think is going to shine this weekend, I'm actually going to pick two. First of all, I think Fernando Alonso is going to do something very good. The Aston Martin has been a car that has ran very well in the American races besides Mexico. Anything in the Americas, the Aston has always been quick. And for the other driver, we spoke about him earlier, I honestly think Charles is the dark horse this week. Ferrari has really been on pace. And like you said, Graham, Charles is really, like you and BT both said, that ruthlessness is coming into it. And he's been having arguably the best season of his career so far with Ferrari. And I think if I don't even think it's going to be a situation of if Max and Lando battle and something happens, Charles is going to be there. I honestly think he's going to be part of that battle this weekend. And for me, I'm going to keep my eye on Alonso and Leclerc. And that is not coming from a Ferrari fanboy perspective. That is my honest opinion.
Yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, I'm with Graham in terms of Lawson. I think it's going to be interesting to watch him, and I think he will do very well there. I'm also with you as well in terms of Charles. I think Ferrari is going to do well there. They didn't do quite well. Last disqualified last year with Hamilton, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Don't bring back bad memories, BT.
So I think Ferrari will be there. I'm going to say Mercedes might shock us as well. Yeah, I have the feeling that Mercedes might just do something there. And I'm going to go the opposite direction in terms of Red Bull. I don't think those upgrades are going to work.
I'm gonna humbly disagree with Mercedes, not because I want to disagree, but just because I really don't want it to be the case.
Okay, that's understandable. But also, talking about Mercedes, remember, this is one of Hamilton's strongest tracks on the entire calendar. COTA is one of the tracks where Lewis goes into that extra gear that he always has. He's got a few of them. Silverstone is one of them. Then you've got Circuit of the Americas, and there's about 2-3 more. It's not a lot. But this is one of the tracks where Lewis really just gets that extra gear. And I honestly think any F1 fan, you would be foolish not to keep an eye on Hamilton this weekend as well.
Yeah, no, cool. And he does well. Then after the race, he goes to one of those DD parties. No,
The-
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Please do not money. Actually, I don't have no money. Please do not sue me. Um. Anyway, gents, it's been good. It's been a while. It's good seeing you guys. Are good. To the audience, please do not forget to subscribe. Beyond 203, that's 203
Really?
subscribers at the moment. So
yeah,
we have legit met our goal because we were saying by December and we're
Yeah.
there already.
We were on 198 when I looked last. That was a couple days ago. So that's come up now.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, still with support.
P-
Tell your friends as well that to watch us. We can be boring but entertaining at the same time. And you have seen that we just need to speak, and the drama will happen in this podcast. So thank you for
I,
tuning in. Any last words before we go?
yes, I've got some. We're not boring. Okay, but we do record this late in the evening. So there are just times where sometimes our energy levels are not there. But generally, Dirk, who is our infamous, what do we call it?
Youngster.
Youngster, gangster. No, not gangster.
Gags, jeez,
Our-
bro. No,
our-
go there.
Our infamous main host of the show, he tries to keep the energy levels up, which is really cool. So yeah, there is a lot of banter, we have a lot of fun, but most importantly, we talk wheel, and we're here to give a lot of wheel chat. And if that's what you like, stay tuned. And if you want to hear more on F1 Africa, stay tuned, it's coming.
Oh,
Yep.
yes. Just so, by the way, on that, there was literally a press release today. South Africa, South Korea, and India are currently all three countries and we have a spectacular track. We've got two actually, and India and Korea that have been on the calendar, phenomenal racing tracks, are all fighting for a 2026 calendar spot. Not against each
I'm
other,
keen.
they just
Wow.
want on the calendar.
I'm keen.
Yes.
We used to race
So,
at Seoul,
I
didn't we? Yeah, we
Yeah.
used to race in Seoul.
And we raced in New
I'd be
Delhi.
keen.
We raced in New Delhi in India.
I'm keen.
Yeah, so both those tracks are incredible. But in any case, my final thoughts. I'm just glad F1 is back. This whole thing where we had a 4-week summer break, had a triple header, and then now another 4-week break. It doesn't work for me. F1, sort out your damn race calendar. I'm over these stupid breaks. I want to see cars going around crazy tracks at
Don't
crazy
say that,
speed.
but just because the way they'll sort it out is to just add more races, that's a little bit too extreme now. Honestly, I can't see your guys' faces that many times in a month, in a year. That's just too much.
Oh, please, Graham, you miss us more than we miss you. Don't go there. In any
Wow.
case, don't forget to drop a like down below on the video, guys. And from my side as well, thank you for the support on the channel recently. It's been absolutely amazing, and we love making content for you guys.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, thank you for voicing up that we should have a race in Africa. You know, my brother, thank you so much.
I support you now.
appreciate it. And
Uh,
and Lewis Hamilton, remember, I'm reminding you, it's 2 months until you're in Ferrari. 2 months now. We're nearly there. We're nearly there, champ. Anyway, good seeing you guys. Good show. Thank you guys for watching. And good night from South Africa, Cape Town, and
Lovely stuff.
Johannesburg.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.